Hello and welcome to Entrepreneurs Creating OMG Moments. We are here with an amazing entrepreneur, Kelly Sinclair, who has started her corporate career, decided it wasn't the right thing, that there was more to life, and that she wanted to live more independently and do the things that she loved because life can be short sometimes. So I am excited to bring to the stage Kelly Sinclair, who is an award-winning marketer, brand strategist, small town girl, and mom of two. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you for having me, Tami. It's so nice to reconnect after I think that we met about a year ago now, and you were a guest on my podcast, Entrepreneur School. So this is amazing.
Yes, it's always fun to bring things full circle.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, tell us how you got started in this. What got you to jump into entrepreneurship and specifically marketing?
Yeah. So I don't feel like I have a typical entrepreneur story, especially because at one point had actually told myself there's no way I'm going to start my own business. Like that's not a thing I want to do because I had this vision that that would be like alone. I would be alone. There would be no people and I'm like super extroverted. So I need to work with people. I need to engage with people. That is where I really thrive. And as a result of being aware of that, I actually got a degree in public relations. And so I started working in communications. I love it because there's such a variety of what that really means. And there's quite a lot of applications of what that looks like. So I started like the journey that you do where you're like, I'm going to work and I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have my kids and my dog. And that's what I'm going to do. And by the time I was 30, I was like, check, 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 check. We gotten pretty close on all of those things. I already had 2 kids, homeowner, working in my career in public relations, and my mom got cancer. And it had been happening on and off, like she was battling it like a champion. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, this is really bad. Had a decision to make. I had to decide like what to do with my kids. I wanted to make sure they had a relationship with her. I wanted to spend as much time with her as I could. And by the time I got around to deciding that I was going to leave my job and take a leave of absence and just like focus on that, there was only 8 days left before she passed away from breast cancer. And in that, and I know that now because I keep reflecting on this and I keep, sharing this story, I know that there's a gift in that tragedy, in that I became super aware of how short life really is. And there's a reason why it's a cliche, but you also don't really understand it until you experience your own like degree of loss like that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, do I go back to this job where I was literally exhausted, commuting, taking my kids out of bed at 6 a.m., getting them into childcare for like 11 and a half hours a day, and basically picking them up, feeding them, putting them to bed, having no quality time, and just like give me all the coffee is basically where I was at.
Yes.
And I thought this is just like, this is what it's like when you have babies and you're like trying to work and do all these things. And then I realized it doesn't have to be. How can I take control of this and change my situation and be in charge of my schedule? That was really the most important thing, was being able to have that flexibility to be present and be the kind of mom that I wanted to be, while still knowing that for me, I have to do something that uses my work brain because I need that in my life. It's an important part for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like we're so similar in so many ways. And I know we've talked about some of this in the past, but I had a very similar wake up call for me. And it's interesting how, some people, it takes that wake up call, right? To say, hey, you need to change, you need to do something different. And
Yeah.
for me, it was very similar in the sense that it was friends impacted by breast cancer. It was not my mom. I actually had 5 friends within a year, all diagnosed with breast cancer. They then all fought it in their own ways and went into remission. And about 2 years later, it came back for 3 of them. And within a year, 3 of my friends passed away.
No.
And it was a big, big wake up call. One of them I was very close to, one of my good high school friends, and was with her a week before she passed. And similar, right? I was just like, life is short.
Mm-hmm.
And what am
Mm-hmm.
I doing? Like, working for somebody else's dream. What is my dream? Like, had checked off a lot of those boxes as well. And so it's, I know so many of our listeners have that similar experience where going through life, you're checking off the boxes, and then something happens and you're like, this is a wake up call. I need to do something different. I need to do something that's going to excite you. Spend more time with your family, spend more time doing the things you love. It's been a hard journey and a lot of things that get us there. Sometimes it is that hitting that wall of, okay,
Yeah.
need to make a change. And then you transition. And I've always loved seeing you and your posts. You're like, it's just like your smile is just contagious. And your energy is always like vibrant, and you talk about how do you get out there and be visible. And sometimes it's not easy for people when they're in that place to then turn that into becoming more visible. So for
Mhm.
you, how did you go from being in that place to, okay, I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to create more visibility for myself? What was that transition like for you?
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna, be the first to admit that it's not easy, right? It really isn't. And then I think that regardless, like for me, I have a degree in communications, and that means I understand like how to get a message in front of an audience and all of that stuff. But when you're the one who's the message it is in the business it is, it's there's another layer there, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm totally cool to pitch my clients to media to like showcase them and put them in the spotlight. But then when you have to step yourself in there, it is a more challenging thing to do. So I just want to acknowledge that first of all for everybody that we all will struggle with this and will be a continual effort to continue to overcome it and push yourself outside of your comfort zone, which is why I love the whole theme of your podcast is to really talk about that we can't get to those OMG moments if we don't put ourselves into a place that we've never been before, really. And so I think what the first piece for me is in order to get yourself to take action, you have to understand why you're doing something. So you have to really feel that connection. And that came for me as a result of this wake up call. And a lot of people have that. We know why we want to do it, right? We have to be really connected to the why. Why is it important? What are our values in understanding like, I want to spend more time with my kids. And if I don't make a real strong effort at creating my own business and creating my own income, then I'm going back to that place that I don't want to go. Right. So maybe that's enough for you to go, well, the alternative is something I don't want. So I'm going to get myself to the place of being able to take a step into this other thing that feels challenging as well. It's that choose your hard, right? Which
Yes.
one do you want? There's no real easy path, anyways. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to start a business. What am I going to do? I went to a networking event, Tami. I printed my own real janky business cards and I went to an event and I was like, I'm in business now. And so
Yeah.
I hand out my cards. I think I won a door prize. So that felt like a good omen.
Woo.
And then I was like, what am I in business for? I don't know. It says KS Communications on the card. So, like, let's just keep it at that for now. And it's evolved so much. And for me, it's been like 7 years almost of iterations and pivoting and exploring different strategies and different business models and all of it. Along the way, we always have to think about our visibility because if you don't put yourself out there, nobody knows about your business. Nobody knows about your business. You have no clients. End of story.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I love you talk about, you started networking because you have to get out there at first and tell people what you're doing. I mean, it's a great place to start, but a lot of, and it helps you hone your message because now you have to repeat what you do and how you help people. And you really start honing that message. But it's so true that, you know, every business changes. And I think so many people get stuck in, well, what is my business going to be and how, and they don't start because they're so worried about making it perfect. And so for those of you who are in that place, I want you to listen to what Kelly is saying there. Like all businesses change over time. You just got to start with where you're at, start with what you know, with what your expertise is, And then you can make some of those adjustments. And
Mhm.
I think so many people get stuck in like, oh, but I got to make it perfect first. So
Mhm.
I love that you shared that.
Mhm.
Tell us about, I know you've got an OMG moment coming up. Tell us about some OMG moments in your business and how that has shifted things for you.
Yeah, I feel like there's been for like as you labeled that and you told me what that means, I always play that game that kind of like if this then that. Like if this never happened then that would have never happened and it can go I can track it back all the way to the decision I made when I was in grade 8 to that go to the high school that I went to, which is where I met my husband. Imagine I went to the other high school, like my whole life would have been different. And so sometimes we think that we're going to like sit and strategize about what's going to happen if we do this and then that's going to happen. Sometimes it is a total like you don't even really know what's going to happen, right?
Yes.
So I launched a podcast. We talked about this. It's called Entrepreneur School and I launched it in 2023 in January. And so come the summertime it was at the like 6-month mark and I was like I haven't really told anybody about this. Like I haven't done what I would make my clients do. I would do a big push. I would put it out in the media. I would come up with these other angles to get more attention for it. And so I thought, okay, Kelly, you have to do this. You have to like do your own thing for yourself right now. And so it was 6 months, and I was, you could easily tell yourself, that's not very long. I don't have that many downloads. It's not big enough yet. I haven't
Mhm.
like won an award, whatever that you're telling yourself that is not good enough to get it out there. So I like combed through that and I wrote a pitch for the media. And I have relationships here. So this shouldn't have been hard for me because I've built relationships with these people
Yeah.
for my clients over the past years. I know how to write a press release. I'm professionally trained in this. And I was still like doubt all over
Mm.
myself, right? Like we do.
Yes.
So I finally got up the courage to write the release, send it out. I got amazing coverage. I got a radio interview. They did an online story. Our local paper did a piece, which they put online. And then, a weekly paper doesn't always print everything, but they did. They gave me a half page in like what's like an 8-page newspaper, honestly. So it was like most of the paper. And I was on the front page. I was like, holy moly, this is an amazing result. And so, in and of itself, like the results of the media outreach were great because then I'm able
Mhm.
to talk about them and leverage them and show them off and all of this. But it wasn't just that, right? It's this whole snowball effect that we're talking about and how it all stacks up. Because right away afterwards, all of a sudden, as a podcast host, you get pitched guests all the time. I get pitched this
Mhm.
guest who is like a multi millionaire who works directly with some huge names in the industry that I respect. And I'm like, you want to talk to me? Okay, I'll talk to you. You can be on my podcast. That's cool. He was all like, I'm going to the Joe Rogan show next. I'm like, yeah, that's the same. That's what we're doing here. So I get this podcast guest. I have this amazing interview. I'm feeling super confident and inspired by all of this. And then I see this opportunity to speak at a podcasting conference in a place that I really want to go. And so I put myself out there as a speaker and I apply with this story that I've just told you as an example to talk to them about how you can get PR for your podcast. Because here I have this case study that I've just done. And now this case study is growing because now I'm going to speak in Nashville like
Woohoo.
really soon at the time of this recording. And I'm so pumped about that because one, I like obviously want to go there. It's going to be amazing. And who knows who I'm going to meet in that room and what opportunities are going to come from there. So the little thing that you're having a hard time doing right now
Mhm.
can be the catalyst to so many more amazing things. And if we could think about that every time we're like, should I do this Instagram post? Should I like apply for this podcast? Should I reach out to this person? Should I go to this event? Imagine the potential if we thought, what could happen if I did
Yes.
this thing?
Yes, yes, yes. I love that. It is so key that people understand like our own mindset is the thing holding us back. And I love how you talked about you're like, no, I'm not going to do this. No, I'm not going to do that. But you do it for other people. It is so easy to do things for others, but not ourselves. Putting ourselves out there is so much harder. And I know that's what you stand for, and I know that's what you teach people. And I think that everyone needs to hear this. If someone else came to you and said, "Oh, how do I do publications?" You'd be like, "Oh, these are the 10 steps, go do this." But when it
Easy.
comes to yourself, there's like all this resistance that comes up to try to put ourselves out there. And so I hope each and every one of you take this away. Just do the hard thing. And you heard Kelly's snowball effect from the hard thing she did and what that has resulted in. Now she's going to be speaking on a stage in Nashville and talking about her expertise in this area and getting more exposure, which is going to lead to more and more things, which is going to be so exciting because I can't wait to, have to have you come back and talk about all the other things that
Mm,
have
to be
snowballed out
continued.
of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I can add one more thing, Tami, it's
Yeah.
just that it's like anything new that you're doing, right? It takes time to build up a habit, especially for things that we like know are good for us. We
Mhm.
know eating healthy is good for us. We know exercising is good for us. We know getting more visible is good for our business, and yet we resist doing it. So we
Yeah.
have to build up a habit by taking consistent, regular action towards it because it becomes easier the more that you repeat it. Right. So
Yeah.
that is something that I have really implemented for myself now. And it's actually part of what I teach inside of a program I have called the Visibility Revolution, where we're taking these little actions on a daily basis to build up our habit, to build up our muscle of putting ourselves out there, because they're going from small things like sending somebody an email, responding to a DM on Instagram, to like big things like trying to get on a stage in an international location that you need to travel to. So there's the whole scope of it.
Absolutely. And so if you were to distill it down for people into like 3 steps that you had to do and to overcome your own self-sabotage that was coming up for you to get to this OMG moment, what would you distill it down to?
So I think the answer to that is actually like the what I call my momentum framework, right? Like what's keeping us stuck. And it starts with what I was telling you about before, which is feel connected. So whenever
Mm,
you're like feeling stuck, you can't get yourself to do something, go back to why. Why are we doing this? What do I care about? Why is this important to me? So that you can muster up the energy to do the thing. And then you take an action. You have to take an action because action creates confidence. Action creates results. Results is the third part. You're going to see something come from it. You're going to either feel differently because you're proud of yourself that you put yourself out there in a way that felt challenging to you, or you're going to see an immediate result like, you know, I sent an email. Actually, this is how this happened, right? Because I reached out to everybody who had been on my podcast in the last year and I let you know about something I was doing and we reconnected. And then you were like, cool. And now I have a podcast. So would you like to be on it? So you see a result come from taking an action. And sometimes that result is also maybe more negative response. Like you learn something didn't
mm,
work. You got rejected, but now you
yeah.
know and you have information and you can keep moving forward. And so that's how I always come back to it whenever I'm like, you lose momentum, you feel stuck, and you're like, oh, there's so many things that I should be doing and I haven't done it. And I feel bad about myself because I'm not taking that action. Why? Remember why, and
Yes.
then do something about it ASAP.
I love it, love it. So, yes, connect, take the action, do something about it right away. I can't wait to see if you guys actually follow this process, what it's going to do for you, because this is about really putting yourself out there and taking that action you've probably been resisting, right? And so getting yourself out there doing this, it's going to make such an impact on you. So tell us, I know you shared you've got this event coming up. What other OMG moments are you hoping to create this year? Like what's on your agenda?
For me, I'm really focusing on speaking, and speaking is an OMG moment for me because I love it.
Yeah.
I love being a podcast host. I love getting in a room with people and really connecting and being able to do more of that. So that's what I'm looking for my OMG moments in is speaking opportunities. I'm traveling internationally. I'm Canadian, so it's a big deal for me to go to to Nashville to do this talk. Plus, I'm like a country girl at heart, so it just feels so aligned that this is where the first big thing is happening. And so I
Yeah.
can't wait to see what else happens from there, because typically when you're in a room with other people who are in a room like that, you're going to create more opportunities.
Yes, absolutely. And taking those big steps while you're there. I know you're going to put yourself out there in many ways and connect with new people. So it'll be an exciting time. I know you also have a gift you're going to be sharing with our audience. Tell us about that.
Yes. So I have a workshop that will walk you through exactly how to create your own visibility plan. So to think about like, what actually should you be doing? How do you get yourself to do it? How can you get rid of the imposter syndrome? And actually like figure out how you're going to do this for yourself. Because as I mentioned, like I started taking these daily actions and I built it into a methodology that I share with you inside of this workshop. And in addition to that workshop, I have a longer training about my momentum framework that we were referencing. So if you're really feeling like stuck, you can watch that as well and see like the full scope of that. And the other piece that I have in there is actually a confidence on camera masterclass. So it
Mhm.
talks to you about getting yourself on video, which a lot of us resist, and how to, feel more confident doing that and how to practice it. So I would love to gift that to everyone listening to the show.
Awesome. Awesome. That is amazing. You guys got to grab that. We'll have the link for you in the show notes below. So go check that out. And I know it's an incredible value because everything Kelly puts out there is so good and so transformational. It's going to help you with that. And the other thing I want to point out that you mentioned and is no matter how far you are into it, like you talked about your podcast, you had been doing it for 6 months before you did this whole PR initiative and marketing initiative around it. And I think so many people get to a point they're like, oh, it's not working for me. I'm just going to give up or try something different. And so I hope you guys are listening to this and understanding that it doesn't matter how far you are into it. If you're not getting the results you want, you got to do something different. You got to try something new. And you probably already know what some of those things are, and you've just been avoiding doing them. So get out there and take those steps. And Kelly's like, yes, yes, yes.
That's exactly what you're doing. It's on your list already. I guarantee you the thing you need to do right now is on your to-do list, and you just keep pushing it to the next week and the next week and the next week. Go find that thing, do that thing.
Yes, absolutely. So that's our challenge for y'all today. Go create your next OMG moment by going to doing the one thing you've been putting off that you know is going to make a big difference in your life and in your business because you've been avoiding it. Get out there, go do it. We want to see you make big results in a big way. Thank you, Kelly. So great having you here with us.
Thank you so much, Tami. This was really fun.
We will see you guys next time on the Entrepreneurs Creating OMG Moments.